Hello, welcome to WayPoint Survival. Today, I want to show you how to make some 1930s Hobo Ant Paste. You're gonna like it, stay tuned. So lard and camphor paste was a widely used pest deterrent in the late 1800s on into the 1900s. It was especially useful in rural or transient communities, much like the hobo community, and used in the hobo jungles. Next, you're gonna need some simple tools, a small pot with a lid on it or not, doesn't matter. I'm going to use just a small can with a pair of pliers. The reason for that is this solution that we're making here, you really don't want it in your eating ware, but if this is just an old pot that you cook in and you don't eat in it, or if you warm up wax or anything like that, this will work. We need some hardwood ashes. Probably any kind of ashes will do, but I've got hardwood ashes. We need some lard. Need a spoon. This is a teaspoon. We're going to need some camphor blocks or some mothballs. These are the Enos old-fashioned ones, and they're naphthalene. So either camphor or naphthalene will work. You're going to need some kind of a small jar with a tight lid or a cork to keep it in. And then something to pound the mothballs into a powder with. So the first thing we have to do is get a fire started. It's always good to have our handy little kerosene bottle with us, some newspaper, some sticks to get it started. A little of this kerosene on here. Don't have to use a whole lot. And then our match case with the attached striker. There's a really stiff wind blowing, so it's not real hard to get it started, especially with a little bit of kerosene. You might call the kerosene an outdoorsman's secret weapon in the backwoods. Next, we want to take the small tin of lard and we want to place it next to the fire, not in the fire. We don't want it super hot. We just need it to be melted and liquid. Lard or tallow, which would have been easy to find and get a hold of, was commonly used for homemade salves, lamp fuel, or even as barrier paste like this. The next thing we need to do is either shave off a bunch of this camphor using our knife. And for those of you who've been wondering, this is a Mercator K55, 1920s or so. Fantastic knife with a lock blade, and you can shave it with that. Or we're just going to break up and smash some of these mothballs. Now, do be careful with handling these. There are handling precautions, and you may want to use rubber gloves or something like that, but it is imperative that after you use this, that you wash your hands thoroughly. We're just going to use this as a hammer and just start smashing it. You don't have to go real crazy with this stuff. It's pretty easy, as you can see. And I'll go ahead and do this and get back with you. Camphor or naphthalene, which you could find in mothballs back in the era, was a very commonly used ingredient to repel mice and pests. Of course, a lot of clothing back then was made from wool, so you'd want to keep the moths from eating holes in your valuable wool clothing. All right, when you get that done, go ahead and make a nice little mound of it. And basically what we're looking for are 2 teaspoons of this material, the smashed up mothballs. Next, we take our warmed up lard, and again, it doesn't need to be hot, just mostly liquid. And we're looking for a couple of, try to get this without spilling it. 1, might do it this way a little better. 2, there we go. A couple of teaspoons of that. You want to go ahead and wipe this clean. Next, because we're making a double batch of this, we're going to take our ashes and try to get as much of the chunky stuff out of it, and we're going to put a couple of spoons of the ash into it. And ashes and charcoal were often used for cleaning or drying out damp areas, and ants dislike walking through ashes. And then we're going to mix our camphor in. Like I said, there are handling precautions for this camphor, so please pay attention to it. And you want to stir this up until it's thick like tar. And you may need to add more lard to it. just depending on your mixture. But you want to stir it for a little while before you add anything, because this powder will soak up pretty good. But basically it's 1 teaspoon of lard, 1 teaspoon of camphor or mothballs, and 1 teaspoon of ashes. So we've done a double batch here, and if we want more than that, then all we have to do is double it. So these ingredients were often used in hobo jungles or even backcountry or backwood homesteads as a makeshift insect barrier, but especially when commercial repellents, which were made and sold back then, were either unaffordable or completely unavailable. So I went ahead and mixed up a double batch. Actually, there's 4 teaspoons of lard, 4 teaspoons of the mothball powder, and 4 teaspoons of wood ashes. And we want to put it in our jar. Again, try to keep this stuff off of you. It stinks to high heaven. I mean, it really smells bad. And of course, you don't want to get this on you. This is for ants and pest control. And you would take a stick or something like that, and you would spread it around your tent pole, around where your food is. Do not get this in or on your food in any sense. This would make you very sick. You'd have to go to the hospital. This is an old-time remedy for keeping ants and stuff out of your meal. And like if you have something hung up on a tree branch, smear a little bit of this around the limb that it's on so the ants can't get past this. They hate the smell. And this recipe actually goes back to the 1800s, early 1900s, and it's known as ant paste. So you'll see that, of course, from the title. But wow, it really has quite the smell to it. Now, suggested uses for this would be to smear around your table legs. If you had a makeshift table, either in a cabin or out in the woods if you made something. Or you could put this around your box of food. If you have an old crate that you're using for your food, you could smear this around a limb if you have your food hanging from a cord on a limb. Or you can even smear this on the ground around your campsite. Now, I would recommend not using your finger for that, but getting a stick and using this. Keep this off of you. Once you get in the backcountry, it's going to be hard to find the kind of oil removing soap that can help you get this off. This is really sticky. It's like tar. And again, it's very effective, but you don't want to get it on your hands. Definitely keep it away from any of your cookware or anything like that. But this will definitely work to repel bugs and ants and all sorts of things. It is also effective against small rodents such as squirrels and other animals. This just really stinks, and so that's why it works so good, because of the smell and because of the composition of it. This is James Bender for WayPoint Survival. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, make sure and check out the links in the description box below, just under the More button. While you're down there, you'll also find our link where you can sign up to take our WayPoint Survival digital class. This is where you can learn the top 20 skills that we teach in our Phase 1 Survival and Bushcraft class. You can also sign up at waypointsurvival.com for our in-person classes here at our beautiful training facility in Southern Ohio. And if you haven't already done so, make sure and subscribe to the channel. We'd really appreciate it. And when you do subscribe, press that bell button so that you can stay notified of all of our upcoming videos, and we'll talk to you next time.